On the 8th of September, RM Auctions are holding their prestigious London sale. Now, Evo, we're good friends with RM Auctions, and we asked them, what happens to your cars before they go into the auction? Where are they stored? What happens to them? And they said, why don't you have a look? As you can see, we're not really supposed to be in here, but Universal Classic Car Storage have allowed us to have a good poke around. So there are tens of millions of pounds worth of cars in here. It's kind of like RM Auctions sweet shop. And you know what? Who better to show us around these cars than, well, a familiar face to Evo. Here he is, reintroducing Mr. Harry Metcalf. Harry, good to see you.
Couldn't keep me away, yeah.
Exactly,
well, what a place to be, you know.
Indeed.
You've got to look around this. I mean, it's just a shed of toys in here. Facel Vegas, Ferraris, and what I can't help be drawn to these two, the Testarossa and the Countach, because I'm fairly familiar with these two and have been looking at a Testarossa quite recently and just see what you want on this. Now, the first thing...
What a place to start, though. Testarossa, poster car of the 80s.
Two of them. Yeah, we'll come to the Countach in a minute, because that's
Yeah.
actually registered in 1990, just because it's one of the very last. But the Testarossa, first thing that hits you, I've never seen one in this colour before.
No.
I mean, they're all red with magnolia or crema hide. But this one, this metallic, I don't know what it's actually
it
called.
has the crema
one.
hide. It's
Yeah.
Rosso Metallizzato. It's a very unusual colour.
It's one of those things with Testarossa, because they are so many red, that as soon as you get a different colour, I looked at a white one, which, you know, obvious reasons why someone ordered a white one back in the 80s. I wonder
Don
why.
Johnson.
Yeah, something like that.
Vice.
But this, I mean, it's the thing about Testarossas, which the market's just waking up to. These aren't as angry as a Countach. This is a GT car, so to actually have this sort of look is actually more in keeping with the character of Testarossa. Now, I know this is an 86 car, which you can sort of tell. The very early ones had a mono mirror. On the one side, it's left-hand drive, so it would have been the other side. So the two mirrors is actually quite desirable, but the collectors all want the mono Posto mirror. Yeah. The other thing I look for on this is the early cars didn't have bolt-on wheels. They actually had a single bolt in the middle, and you can get metric wheels and you can get 16-inch wheels as an option. This has got the 16-inch wheels, so that makes getting tyres, when they come available, a little easier.
Yep.
But I mean, this one's out of a Swiss collection.
Yeah.
The number of cars here that are out of Swiss, you've just got to be aware if you're in the UK, then there's a little bit of tax to pay because you've got to pay some import duty because it's not in the EC, but
Yep.
each car is individually looked at. But it is incredible condition. Now, it's 16,000 kilometres, this car, been in one ownership from the start.
Yeah.
A very nice example.
The look's defined by the side strakes, isn't
Aren't
it?
they?
We've never seen anything like
No.
this on a car before.
No, it's a shame because there's some 365 and the 512 BBs in this sale as well. They haven't quite arrived yet, and they were front radiator.
Yeah.
Testarossa had the side radiators at the back because the cabin used to get really hot on a 512.
Right.
So this is actually better, but it just gives this really wide stance. It's not actually as wide as you think. It just looks super wide from the back because it's the widest point is the rear. But you measure it against a Countach, it's around the same. It's about the same as a 458 or something like that. It's just, we think, oh my God, it's enormous.
Yeah.
But again, you probably have to come round the back to see this, but something that's unique on these early Testarossas is the black slats at the back and this black prancing horse in the middle. And you don't often see it because owners a long time said, oh, it should be chrome, and they replaced it with the chrome. So it's really nice to see. That tells me it's a very original car. It's got all the service kit. I've seen the toolkit in it. Yeah, a lovely thing.
And the Testarossa era, from all the way through to 512 and TR, the last of the flat 12 Ferraris as well.
Well, I think with this era, I'm so glad people are sort of recognising the flat 12 era, because it always was, you know, V12, and we sort of forgot about these, and they went to a silly value for what they offer, but they are just coming under the spotlight again. Yeah. It's one of the best sounding cars ever. I mean, you know, the Ferrari with the, you know, replacement exhaust, a Tubi or, you know, whatever. I mean, these just sing. I have a friend he's an Enzo and F40 owner, was in Italy, and this Testarossa went past him, and he came back off holiday and just bought a Testarossa, put a Tubi on it, and it's just, he says, I just have this vision of this sound. I just had to have one. So great thing.
Well, let's move on to the Countach, shall we? With the wing.
Yeah.
25th anniversary. You know a thing or two about Countach, don't you?
Just a bit, yeah. No, the 25th anniversary is a slight Marmite sort of Countach. There's some pluses and minuses to the 25th anniversary. plus is it's a Countach.
Yeah.
And it's actually the end of the line Countach, and therefore it's the most sorted of them all. It has the highest horsepower, it's the QV, the 455 horsepower engine. Yeah. So mechanically, it's fantastic, this car. It's the styling. The reason for this, why this all got added, poor old Horacio Pagani was at Lamborghini in the design office at the time this one was being worked on, and he told me what he had to do was crash legislation had come in, and he had to get the bumper beyond the exhaust pipes. The first thing you touch, if you have a knock, is this. So this is why this suddenly got added, and this area here. And it was a technical thing. It actually went to the technical department rather than the artists in the beautiful design office. So
you can tell, can't you? Because it's lost that signature shape of the lights.
Yeah. But you've got to remember, underneath is the best Countach in a way. They they had cooling issues, so they added this. Yeah. And the other thing you've got to know on these late Countaches from QV, it actually got a Kevlar engine lid, super light.
That's so light.
It is. It makes such a difference. And I look at that because if you can see the weave a bit like on an F40, you know it hasn't actually had any paint. And this one is perfect weave on it.
You think this is original paint?
Oh, this is original paint. I'm quite sure. Yeah. It's very low kilometres. This one. 6,000 or 7,000 kilometres. Yeah. Most powerful engine, 455 horsepower, 5.2. A little tweak they used to do, apparently Valentino was telling me, is to put lots of gaskets underneath that and lift that airbox up, and you've got another 10, 15 horsepower, a little top tip. Yeah. If you're getting out drag, that's how you do it. Yeah. But yeah, a great example. Inside, I'd notice is something you used to get on the anniversary. I'd always look to see how good that strut is. That tells me it's good that it holds the door up. But inside, something you don't often see, under this little flap here, are electric seat controls, because this has the comfort seats option, which is sort of bizarre being a Countach.
It's a kind of a contradiction, isn't it?
It is. Really? It doesn't really work, because this is not a GT in the same sense as the Testarossa. This is a really angry machine. You've got to remember these things rev to about 7.5, 7.8. The Testarossa horsepower is all done at 6.3, so that's another real difference between these things. So this is a proper angry Lamborghini. Yeah.
Tell me were those seats reliable, the electronics?
They were. The only trouble is it puts the seat slightly higher, so you've got to be a certain size to fit there. And if you want the sports seats, if you're over 6 foot, you want the sports seats, not the comfort seats.
So if you're a Henry Catchpole,
he might struggle, but he'd be very comfy.
OK, well, I'm not quite sure where to go next in this amazing place, but what's this over here?
Have a look over here. Move into the 90s, the Ferrari 512 TR. So this is the next step up from the Testarossa. Very similar car, but just tweaked all the way through just to improve it in various places. The most obvious one, firstly, is the Starling. Has a completely different nose at the front. Yeah. It has the lights down and set up in the bumper, and a sort of different face at the front rather than the slats going across.
Still pop-up.
Still pop-up lights, yeah. That came 512M right at the very end. Very, I mean, hen's teeth, those. Yeah. Big improvement in the interior. It's not quite as 80s. It looks more sensible, this one, and easily livable in. But it's really mechanical differences on this. The big change was moving away from mechanical fuel injection to electronic fuel injection and distributors and stuff. So updated engine.
Let's have a look.
Yeah,
not every day you get to see one of these, is it?
The other thing they did, the handling on the Testarossa was, they always said the engine was sat too high because the gearbox sits underneath. They had a right old go at this, how they could get the engine to sit lower. Yep. And on a Testarossa, the whole thing comes out as a subframe with gearbox out the bottom. On this car, you take the engine out the top.
Gotcha.
And they have this reputation for being expensive to service, and everybody gets scared because the engine comes out to do a belt service. They've actually, it's really easy to do. It just sounds a bit scary because it's an engine out job.
It looks terrifying.
It's a bit scary on the 512 and the Testarossa. It's half the hours to do a Testarossa than it is a 512. Right. But you get the handling improvement to go with it. Yep. And they added some horsepower, as Ferrari do in these sort of things. It's about 390 on the Testarossa, 420, 428 on one of these. So it's a bit quicker. It moves into just over 190 miles an hour, slightly quicker.
And it kept that signature flat 12 sound.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, it's a great thing. It's a more sorted Testarossa until you get to the final evolution, the M. But the M has the improvements, but it just has a very odd look. It has this buggy-eyed look, and not as pure as the 512. Yeah. So this is a really nice car.
Good value at the moment?
Well, they are. I mean, they've moved into the hundreds now.
Yeah.
You know, left-hand drive on this one, you'll probably get this for under 100. Right-hand drive is over 100. So you could say this is a bit of a steal. You're going to use it on European jaunts, so left-hand drive shouldn't put you off, really.
Okay. What next? We're in the 90s now.
We're in the 90s.
So
There's another supercar from the 90s over here, which you don't often see.
Let's go
the Jaguar XJ220. Yeah.
Bit of controversy about this. Was it a supercar?
I think it's a supercar. You only have to look at it and say, oh, it's a supercar. And I know, you know, doing work at Jaguar at the moment, each time we look at the performance of this thing, this is still a 217 mile an hour car. So it's, you know, still the fastest in top speed terms of any other Jaguar.
Yeah.
And they're just starting to come on the radar because it's always been a great looking car.
Hasn't it just? Yeah.
And because as things are sort of floating into stratospheric, you know, values, F40s and F50s and things, this thing sitting in 140, 160 roughly value, left-hand drive, people are saying, hang on a minute, this is a bit of a bargain. This is a, you know, statement of the 90s.
Yeah.
So I think it's having, you know, it's really coming on the radar.
This was the controversy, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, pluses and minuses, engine. It doesn't sound like a supercar. When you turn the key, it doesn't have that multi-cylinder smoothness to it. But boy, does it go. I mean, we've had a few of these at Evo, and they're so easy to tune. And there's a chap, Dom Law, in the UK, who's sort of the mecca for these cars. And he can squeeze some serious horsepower out of this. You're up around the 700 horsepower mark with the ultimate versions.
Yeah.
And everything else is right about the car. It has really good suspension.
Yeah.
It's very stable at speed.
Yeah.
So once you know, you still see them racing today.
And it's rear-wheel drive.
It's rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. No traction control, stability
No,
control. It's a
no.
proper. In a way, it's got more in common with, say, an F40, hasn't it? A turbocharged rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
You know, pretty leery.
It's one of those things. You have it in your garage and you've paid 150,000 for it. So, you know, you're not going to say, "Oh, what have I bought one of those for?" Parts of their, you know, that engine, because it's shared with other cars, is pretty easy.
Yeah.
So I can quite understand that, you know, the desire to own these now.
Have you ever been tempted?
Sometimes, yes, I have. I've never sort of, the credit card payment won't actually buy it though. I need to save a bit more, and
Really?
then I go and buy something else. Oh, what about the XJ220? Fortunately, I think I've got some keys to one at the Jaguar collection as well. Which
I see.
yes,
Is that how it works now, Harry?
Yeah. But I'm getting to like them more and more.
Good. So, moving on.
Yeah. Well, there's a car you don't see every day.
Goodness me. Bentley Continental GTZ.
ZTZ, because it was a collaboration with Zagato. I think it's the first Bentley that was ever done with Zagato, and it has all those Zagato signatures on it. Yep. One of 9, so it's pretty rare. Yeah, I mean, Zagato, I mean, they have to do a design. They're going to do a design. It has to look instantly recognisable as different. Yep. And this one is, from that grille and the double roof, that works well. I mean, that's a Zagato signature.
Yeah.
And I just think the work they've done here, being one of 9, that makes it sort of desirable in the first instance.
Yeah.
It's a great colour, distinctive. Everybody likes the Bentley Continental GT, and this is like the ultimate version, really.
Yeah, it's a challenging car to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, the Zagatos always are, really. You know, you think you go back to Alfa SZ.
Yeah.
You know, that was challenging. A friend's got a Ferrari 550 Barchetta Zagato. Completely, is almost unrecognisable. This is recognisably with Bentley. I think the greatest thing about this car is it's based on a Bentley Continental GT that we all know is bulletproof and just goes on for 1,000,000 miles without any issues, and they're really easy to live with. So a really rare car, first one I've ever seen in auction.
I've never even seen one in the flesh.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, latest car. Perhaps we ought to look at some of the earlier cars in this collection, because there's so many to choose from.
Well, 1959 Facel Vega, it's dripping with details and glamour. It's a beautiful car.
And we've both been quite taken by this, so I've really not poked around one as much as this. Yeah. I just adore these sort of GTs of this era.
Yeah.
They're so easy to Liverpool, and you just imagine this car in London, cruising through London or Kings Lane. It's just made for it.
Isn't it just? Well, look at this interior.
Yeah.
Come on, in you jump.
I know, I'll have to really. One thing I love is the way that door cuts out and you can actually get in very easily. Quite often of cars of this period you can't. And this extraordinary wheel.
Look at that. And the speedboat kind of dashboard that wraps around you. Just
it's
wonderful.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And being a manual, so no sort of slow old sort of croaking 50s automatic.
Yeah.
guided at, you know, really good price, 140, 150 or thereabouts, 360 horsepower, so really quite powerful.
Yeah.
And these were the cars with the film stars and the rock stars, you know. Ringo Starr had one. I think this is owned by the relation of Winston Churchill.
Yeah,
Lord
son-in-law of
Son-in-law
Winston Churchill was
yeah.
the first owner, yeah.
Well, and the made in France, you know, the Paris nameplate on it. I'm very taken with this car, and it's right-hand drive, really rare. It's coming over from the US, so you know, it's amazing that it's gone to it was in the UK, gone out to America, and now it's come back, and beautiful condition.
They don't come
faultless.
up for auction very often, do
No.
they? These.
No, and such a star statement. So yes,
Yeah,
I'll
we
try
are-
not.
we
I
are
shouldn't
taken
know.
with this one, aren't we?
Yeah, very, very taken with this one. And I mean, just some of the stuff at the back. I mean, look at these incredible lights and the V of Vega in there,
Wow.
and then this lovely detail of the exhausts. I wonder, have you seen those before? Where are the exhausts? Well, they're hiding in here.
The Winston Churchill.
Number plate from
Reference.
California. Well,
Yeah,
there you go.
That's cool. If you're going to
Yeah.
drive this car in England, just keep the plate.
Yeah. Winston's car.
What a
Yeah,
wonderful
great
thing. Okay, Harry, so while we're feeling glamorous,
Yeah.
a 1972 Ferrari 365 GTC4. What a beautiful
Yeah.
car.
Well, it's a very different car. Everybody thinks in this sort of age with this engine, front engine configuration, they're thinking Daytona.
Yeah.
But this was actually the 2+2 Daytona
Yeah.
of its day. And it has some peculiar differences with Daytona. Its wet sumped engine, side draft carburettor to get the super low bonnet line.
Should we have a look?
Well, we can.
Yeah,
yeah.
there's nobody around, is there? Let's,
It's always a bit of a good look. Look at that.
oh,
You can just hear the fuel going in it, can't you?
the fuel, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this.
Different to Daytona, so downdraft on the Daytona, side draft on this.
Yep.
Dry sump, 330 horsepower. But yeah, a wonderful engine. I mean, this layout I've got this Lamborghini Espadas, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just the bark you get from 6, you know, twin choke carburettors. There's no mistaking it. It's a wonderful noise, and
Yeah.
I'm sure this is just the same.
Look at this mechanism. Look at this here.
Yeah, squirt all the fuel in. Yeah.
Goodness me. Heavy car to drive, no power steering, I'm
wonderful.
guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5-speed gearbox and that. But, you know, it's a cool thing because it is, you know, it's a third of the price of a Daytona, half to a third of the price, something like that.
Yeah.
Just here's on the radar. Very practical. It's interesting, this one's actually done more kilometres than some of the other cars in this collection this car's come out of. Because you guess he must have used it. It's a very usable Ferrari.
Yeah.
So again, just coming on the radar, I'll be very interested to see what this one makes.
Yeah. Lovely car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Ferrari 328 GTS.
All right, well, let's try and get through this without mentioning Magnum, shall we?
Yeah, you did it. First thing to remember, GTS means removable top.
Yep.
Fun things, because you only use these cars in the summer anyway, so why not have a removable top, and then that slips down behind the seats.
Yep.
This is the ultimate version, in effect, of where we started with 308 and then 328, the bigger engine, and then quattro valve with this one, so the highest horsepower.
Yeah.
Something special about this car, though, isn't it? How many miles has this one
You,
covered?
you won't believe it's 125 miles.
How
Yeah.
do these cars sort of suddenly turn up?
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously.
So this was never the car's prettiest feature, was it?
No.
So we'll ignore that and go straight into the engine bay shot.
but it just says that's a late one.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky enough to live with a 308 fiberglass. Really quite a nice, very nice car to live with. Very robust engine. I mean, really no issues at all with these things.
And transverse as well.
Yeah. When we'll see later, we go to a 348 and they went longitudinal. But yeah, on this one was transverse. This was going to be this competition car. The 308 was born out of something to rival the 911. They came out with the Dino. We're going slightly off piece, but the Dino came out V6, and then they wanted a more horsepower, and that's where the 308 came in to rival 911. But yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable example. If you want one, here's a brand new car.
Yeah. And compact as well. That's what I love about
Yeah.
these. You know, they're easy to drive. They're small. They sound great. You know.
Yeah, and as ever, people were spotting them. Hang on a minute, this is a pretty special Ferrari, and so values are on the up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you value this sort of mileage. It'd be very different. Interesting to see when we see the sale. You know, the auction itself. No, nice car.
All right. So there's only a year actually separates these Ferraris.
Yeah.
328, 348,
So the 348.
89, 1990.
Yeah, 1990 car. Again, a very low mileage car. Right at the start of its production. It's the right colour. This one isn't with the soft top. This is GTB, so the hard top version.
Berlinetta. Yep.
And I quite I really quite like these. I remember at the time being unimpressed with them. Then we did a test. I did a test with Henry, and we had all the V8 Ferraris, and the 348 was the star of the show because it has it's no power steering. It had a trick exhaust on it. It sounded great, and we thought, hang on a minute. History said to this wasn't a very good Ferrari, but we're having an absolute ball here.
Yeah.
So they're one to watch. I have, can quite understand at the price point these cars are.
Yeah.
I can quite understand owning the 348 now because it was a good, usable car.
And like you say, this is the one to have. It's a GTB. It's Berlinetta hardtop. It's got the manual gearbox with the open gate.
Yeah, great colour combination.
Yeah.
And even though this one has just done nothing, I can't remember what mileage it is.
Less than 600 kilometres.
Another one, 600 kilometres. It's guided at £50,000.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's below a 328. It's a more modern car.
Yeah.
I can quite understand someone pocketing this one away and being very happy.
I should think you're right, Harry, yeah. Right, Harry, I'll be honest, I absolutely adore these. It's an Alpine A110, and it's, well, the first thing that strikes you, it's tiny.
I know, because they look sort of normal in the photographs. You see them doing the rally, and then you see one for real, and you think, oh my lord, they've shrunk it. What's happened? But it's 1300 cc these things, aren't they?
Yeah.
And only 80 something.
81 horsepower.
81 horsepower, but
yeah.
Highly competitive, and that's why I think this one's guided around the 50,000 mark.
Yeah.
Because they're just great fun to rally, aren't they? They're like a junior 911, and they're iconic.
Yep, they're very light. They're 700 kilos. They were hugely successful rally cars in their era, and this one has actually been restored to rally condition. So you can enter historics in this and have an absolute blast.
I suppose so. You just get an entry ticket to anything, wouldn't you? With something like this that's absolutely legit.
Yep.
Great colour. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't see them in that often. But I adore this. I'd have one of these in my garage. That's for sure. Okay.
Great looking car.
Should we? I'll tell you what we should do, Harry.
Yeah.
We should have a look at. So let's go back to a Ferrari. This one is a bit of a curiosity, Harry.
Well, yeah, not just because it's a Mondial either. No. You wouldn't guess from the outside, but this has a very special feature with its gearbox.
Your left leg doesn't have much to do, does it, in this one?
Absolutely nothing. just the rest on the side, because this is basically Ferrari's first two-pedal car.
Okay.
French gearbox manufacturer, Valero, and they'd done some work with a competition, Lancia Integrale, and Ferrari said, oh, let's try it in a road car. So, yeah, this is a peculiar thing, isn't it, the Mondial? It's sort of like a sensible Ferrari of 2+2 seating and sort of junior V8. But here you still get the open gate.
Yeah.
But as soon as you touch it, the clutch is depressed and you can change gear. And
so as soon as you grab the gear lever.
Yeah.
So you don't drive along with your hand resting on the...
Best not. And it was the same with the 911 Sportomatic. That had the same sort of gearbox, and that was all don't touch, because as soon as you touch it, it downs the clutch. I've never driven one.
Yeah.
Be honest, I've never actually seen one before.
No, I haven't. No. They were kind of unloved, weren't they, Mondials? And maybe that's reflected in this one's reserve. But
yeah, I know. They're in the 20s, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the cars I've seen here out of this collection, they're all in the collection, so they're barely used, and they're all in perfect condition. Yeah. Anyway, there's a car I sort of know, 250 GTE. So this is 60s Ferrari again. With it, because it's got 250 in the name, everybody says, ooh, it's this one. And there was a time when these were all turned into 250 replicas and things like this, and suddenly they're starting to get recognised. It was Enzo Ferrari's personal car. He liked these 2+2. He liked these sort of cars.
Yeah.
And they're really coming into their own, and you can see that again in the guide prices. They're starting to take off. But it's very elegant. You can't. It's a shame it's squashed in here, but it's quite an elegant tail on it. Sort of elongated tail on it. No, nice thing to see.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go from the sublime to the ridiculous, shall we? Well, I think it's got to be
that noisy one, the Cobra. Yeah.
Right, Harry, this is a 1964 Shelby 289 competition Cobra, and I tell you what, I feel quite intimidated even stood near this car. What a thing!
I know, it should be covered in sort of health warning stickers all over it, shouldn't it? You just hear this thing, this monster, this thunder machine. But it's got a great pedigree, this car. It's done no end of racing in the States.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe it's a 64. It looks so perfect. It looks box fresh from here.
Yeah.
I think it's been in the Shelby Museum, hasn't it, for
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
But these sort of cars, I mean, they're just eligible for everything, aren't they? If you want to go historic racing and seriously scare yourself, here you are. And
That's
you
right.
need
Bungee jumping, parachute jumping, none of that
Yeah, what it
excites
is.
you.
Yeah, the site catches it's guided over £1 million. So
1.1 to 1.4, yeah.
Well, that just shows the pedigree of this particular example. Scary, scary thing. You know, if they're going to drive this on stage, be prepared. Earplugs time. But great thing.
Have you driven a Cobra, Harry?
I have.
Yeah.
I have, and I was scared. So yeah, it says what it does on the tin.
Yeah, this is a glorious thing, isn't it? And yeah, I just want to hear it start up. I figure it'll probably blow every car up in this room if it starts up.
I think so. There are a competition car over there. That's Ferrari 250, much more delicate, very special car. But perhaps we ought to go and have a look at that.
Yeah, let's go and have a look at that. Right, so 1956 Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta Competizione Tour de France.
And there it is.
And there she is.
The crown jewels in this sale. I mean, guided at 4 to 5 million and a magnificent car.
Beautiful.
So usable.
Yeah.
Fantastic history of this car.
Yeah.
Loads of things you can do with it. And it's like another one. It's like box fresh again, isn't it, this one? Just extraordinary. Fitted luggage in it, I can see.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay. Shall we have a look under the bonnet?
I suppose we should, but I'm not sure if we do it on camera.
Okay, all right. Let's. Goodness me, that was worth it.
Open carb. So this is, I mean, it's 250 engine, so you instantly recognisable. It's a single cam engine. This was Ferrari's stalwart engine, Columbus engine. Beautiful manifolds on it. This was the engine they always did, twin distributors.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah. So the relationship between this and the famous GTO engine is?
They're identical,
They're
as near as damn it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a GTO is just sold for what, 38 or so million?
Yeah.
And this is 5.
There you are. You're trying to justify. I like the man maths you're doing there, Nick. Yeah.
It's just beautiful, isn't it? And the preparation is
it is extraordinary,
spectacular.
Isn't it? I mean, this is a Mille Miglia car, Tour Auto, all sorts of things you do with this. You know, that's why they're so valuable. And then this is super rare. 1 of 9, I think, in this spec.
Is it really?
This shape.
Yeah.
Really pretty car. It's great not to see a red Ferrari sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this one really suits it.
Yeah.
But I am quite taken with that one behind you, you know, Nick. I know.
Okay,
you know, this is 4 to 5 million.
I've been distracted, yeah.
Yeah. This is such an iconic Ferrari for me. It's the 275 GTB. It's the gentleman's racer. Think 550 Maranello in its day. This is the front engine gentleman's car.
Yeah.
Wonderful example, and a very rare one, this one, which you can't tell from the outside unless you have a magnet in your pocket. It's the alloy-bodied one. So, they dent and they're very precious, but this is the hen's teeth. This is what the collectors want, and that's why it's guided as near as damage at £2 million. Notice it hasn't got wire wheels on it. I mean, it is correct. The competition cars had the alloy wheels like this. That is correct. Beautifully trimmed interior, tan interior. A proper GT car, if there ever was one. And it just looks Ferrari. It does.
I was going to say, there are styling features on here that we see today on Ferraris.
Yeah, great car. It's funny, the one car that's just arrived is such a contrast to this 2 million. I mean, this is the crown jewels of the collection, but this is quite a fascinating car.
It is. It shows the kind of variety of the auction, doesn't it?
Well, what obviously makes this difference is that badge there.
Doesn't it just? Yeah. And tell me, this car was originally delivered to a very special owner, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Colin Chapman, who I think was. The story goes he was probably given it from the Ford Motor Company, and he rocked around in it.
This was his daily driver.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I know someone who's owned it for quite a while now, and he owned it in New York.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, is it there? Is that all the stickers?
It's got the New York.
Well, it's literally just arrived, hasn't it?
The safety inspection certificate from New York State. How did it pass that?
I have no idea. Yeah, but what a thing to have.
Yeah, let's have a look under here.
Okay.
This is.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
Yes. How about that? Lotus twin cam.
So, I know this is a Lotus twin cam, Harry, but is this supposed to be here?
I know.
It looks like it should be at the back end.
It does look like an exhaust, but it is, induction, because, well, obviously when they designed the car, they didn't think they were going to be putting a twin cam engine with 2 carbs sat on the side. There's no space for an air cleaner, so it comes up and sits on top of the engine.
On top. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So what kind of performance are we talking here, Harry? What kind of horsepower?
It's not Ferrari performance, you know.
Okay.
No.
But it's a light car.
Ish, yeah, it's about a tonne, about
Yeah.
110
Yeah.
horsepower or thereabouts. I seem to remember these cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, a slight curio, but amazing to have Colin Chapman in the history book.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Harry, that has been a real privilege, hasn't it?
Yeah, how's looking around this car?
And we've been left alone, completely alone.
I know, we haven't
Amongst
found any
millions of
keys.
pounds worth of
Yeah.
cars. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one. If all of these cars had the keys in them, yeah,
Yeah.
and you could take one. Come on.
No, well, I still like that. Do you know, the one I should just say one of the ultimate Ferraris, but I'm taken by that Facia Vega. I would just go off in that one.
Yeah.
And I know it's not the highest value car, but it's the one I just think I'd cruise around in that for a bit. I'll be very happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll chase you down the road in that little Alpine.
Oh,
There
you're
we
in
go.
Alpine, so
I
there
do.
you go.
You know, I do get completely seduced by the supercars. There is no doubt, but
Yeah.
it's just something about that. little
Oh, there
Alpine
you
I
go.
love. Well,
Well,
what
it-
do you have? There we go. Let's see what our
Yeah.
YouTube fans think. Thanks for watching. This has been a real privilege, not only to hang out with Harry again, that's always great,
I'm in heaven.
but indeed, yeah, wonderful thing. So RM Auction is on the 8th of September, so stay tuned. You'll be able to watch it live on Evo on this YouTube channel, so subscribe to get your alert to watch the RM Auctions live on the 8th of September.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and thank you,
Right,
Harry.
No worries. No problems. Lift this bit.
What does that do?
You sort of lift this and it rotates
that up?
round. Yeah, off the bonnet.
That way?
Okay.
Or
yeah.
that way?
No, it doesn't matter. Just off the bonnet. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not resting on it.
No. And you lift this up
I'm shaking.
and then get hold of under here
Yeah.
and then pull it out. And there you go.
And don't drop it.
Don't drop it. Don't drop it. Don't drop it.
We,
Look,
should
it's
we
worth
put it on the
though.
floor? Shouldn't it be on a piece of velvet?
It probably should, but no one's watching. Look at that though.
Goodness me, that was worth it.
Yeah.